Dana White has been fired from his role as president of the UFC. This news has come after reports of mounting pressure on the organisation to dismiss Mr. White due to his persistence to continue the promotion of the UFC 249 event despite the current coronavirus pandemic. The event was scheduled to take place next Saturday and was set to go ahead until ESPN and Disney executives asked for the show to be cancelled. Speculation has already started regarding who will be Mr. White's replacement, with some UFC fighters said to be in contention. Whoever it is, UFC executives will be hoping that they will bring a fresh image for the UFC so that they can put the current controversies behind them. Hello and welcome. I am Frostley, and that was an intro working on a budget. That's about as good as it's going to get on this channel, so if you're not a fan of dodgy newspaper articles with generic news intro sounds, I suggest you head over to another channel, PewDiePie, KSI, something like that. Although I'm pretty sure neither of those are going to be taking over Dana White's job anytime soon, whereas you're going to see exactly that here. Although it's not actually going to be me that's going to be taking over the job, it's going to be a made-up character that we're going to come up with using the traditional job interview route of random name generator alongside random nationality, picture and even job generator. See what they did in their past life before they've taken over UFC. It's going to be interesting to see who we get. Right, let's get into it. We're going to start off with the name generator. Right now we've got Gertrude Gallagher there. That's not who we're going to go with. That's who we started off with when I clicked on the website. So we're going to go for first person. When I click this link here, we're going to see who we get. We've got Jerome Cullen. So Jerome Cullen is going to be the new president of the UFC. Let's see what his nationality is. Jerome Cullen is from Algeria. Okay, I wouldn't say Jerome Cullen sounds like he's from Algeria, but he is. That's fine. So he's got an Algerian Jerome Cullen. And now, let's see what job was in the past life. It's going to be interesting. Let's see. He was a sailor. Okay, I'm not sure I can make a story relating to that, to how he's ended up being the UFC president, but we will make a link and you'll see that in a bit. The last one, we're going to use a random name generator, random face generator. This is interesting because these are all just not real people. It's all via AI, and they've used very clever AI to make a person. So let's see what Jerome looks like. There he is, Jerome. Lovely. We've got a picture of Jerome. He's going to go into the game, and he's going to be a playable character for this UFC save. Right, here it is. New CEO and president of the UFC, Jerome Cullen. Official confirmation. As you can see, repping the Sailors hat, so he's not let go of that part of his life completely, even though he's turned on to a new chapter. Let's have a look at the backstory. How's a sailor managed to end up with this job? So, as you can see, elephant in the room. Jerome insisted on having his top off during the photo shoot, so we are going to have that beautiful photo to look at the whole time when we click on this profile, but that's just Jerome for you. So, he came from humble beginnings and grew up in Algiers, Algeria, which is the capital of Algeria. Once he was 28, he was on a cruise ship. He was a cruise ship sailor on a six-figure salary, so earning lots of money. And this is unprecedented due to the lack of social mobility in his home country. Age 35, Jerome moved to California in the United States. It was there that he met UFC executives who were on board his ship heading towards Fight Island. Jerome's eccentric personality and relentless passion for MMA impressed the executives, and 1 week later, as if by magic, following the sacking of Dana White, he ended up with a job offer to be the new president of UFC, new president and CEO of UFC, which, as it all seems very legit, I'm sure this kind of story happens all the time in real life, so I don't want anyone doubting it in the comment section. Okay, so Jerome's been very busy booking all the new UFC events, and one of them, or the first one, is UFC 249, which is going to be headlined by Khabib versus Ferguson, which is a fight that everyone's wanted to see for ages. So, going to fast forward to July, and we're going to see how that event goes. We are here. It is UFC 249, headlined by Khabib and Tony Ferguson, as I said before. Not just that fight that's exciting, we've also got Henry Cejudo versus Aljamain Sterling. I decided that Sterling deserved the chance over some other fighters that have been linked in real life, like Dominic Cruz and even Jose Aldo's been linked as well. But I think in terms of longevity in the bantamweight division, Sterling's been around for a long time and he's on a good winning streak at the moment. Dominic Cruz coming off a loss, coming back from not fighting for a long time. I think he should be getting a fight, winning a fight before he gets a title shot. And Aldo just came off, but he's lost his last couple of fights, so I definitely don't think he deserves it. And then we've got Francis Ngannou versus Rosenstruck. Two big knockout artists, really exciting fight. Then two kind of up-and-coming contenders, Ryan Hall, Sadiq Youssef is another one on the main card, and then Derek Brunson, Kevin Gastelum. Exciting fight as well. Nice. Kelvin Gastelum, not Kevin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum, of course, come off lost against Darren Till, and then before that had a title shot against Adesanya. Derek Brunson, exciting fighter. Fights often finish in knockout. Last couple of fights have been decision wins, but he's still exciting fighter to watch. And then here we've got the prelims as well, which we're going to go through. We're going to see all the fights, but I will go through the prelims a bit quicker. It's got a few kind of interesting contenders like Mickey Gall and Macy Barber on the prelims as well. So let's get started. So first fight, Lara Prosopo, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not an expert on Brazilian names, so I could be wrong there. And Sarah Alpar. Sarah Alpar is coming off a victory in the Dana White Contender Series, which we're now calling, of course, the Jerome Cullen Contender Series, due to the new changes at UFC. And then Lara is coming off a loss on her debut, but both new to the UFC. This might be kind of a good start. If they win it, a good start to kind of consolidate themselves in the division. So we're going to see how it goes. We're just going to skip straight to the end, actually, for this fight to see how it goes. And we've got a knockout in round one by Lara, which is very, very surprising at such a low weight division. You don't normally see knockouts that quickly, but it's happened. It's in low weight division. But in 26 seconds, she's knocked out Sarah Alpar. Really good way to rebound from that debut loss. Okay, so next fight we've got Trevor Smith against Punahele Soriano. Hopefully I've nailed that. And Trevor Smith, been around for a long time in the UFC. Had, let's see, I think it's like, there's five wins, 7 losses in the UFC. Been around a long time. And then Soriano he's won his debut in the UFC by knockout, and he's 7-0, so he's unbeaten. Kind of exciting prospect coming through. So we've got a bit of a prospect versus experienced fighter in this one. Let's see how that one goes. And again, Soriano's won another knockout. Really good way to kind of push on. 2 knockout wins in the start of his UFC career is really impressive. And brilliant. So 2 really exciting prelim fights, 2 knockouts, nice quick knockouts. And then we got Yorgan De Castro versus Rafael Pessoa. 2 really big fighters in terms of their weight, both verging on super heavyweight actually. We got Yorgan De Castro's undefeated, and he had a big knockout win on his debut. And then Rafael Pessoa's had 2 fights in UFC so far, 1-1. See how this one goes. And we got another finish, which is brilliant. Pessoa is won by submission. Good for him. It's nice, another nice exciting fight. And they said another guy said great as well. So yeah, it's looking really good. And this one I'm a bit more interested in terms of the result, because we got Macy Barber is a real prospect in this division. She has coming off a loss in her last fight, but before that her first 4 UFC fights were all finishes, all TKO I believe. So she's a really impressive fighter. And then Alexis Davis is a experienced fighter who's fought Ronda Rousey in the past for a title. She did lose, of course, and she's also beat Camuche twice in her career. So it would be Macy Barber, if she wins this, really be a statement. And she has won it, which is brilliant. Another finish as well. So we got 4 finishes in a row, and it was rated as great, which is brilliant. Next one's Roundtree versus Clark. Not too much to say about these two guys. Roundtree, a bit of a power puncher, and then we got him versus a wrestler in Clark, who likes to kind of grind out his wins a bit more. Let's see how it goes. Roundtree's won and knockout by elbow. Good fight. So another finish. So we got a very good start to the rebound after coronavirus at UFC. 3 months off, of course. This is July. And we've started off with finishes in all of them. And then Mickey Gall versus Daniel Rodriguez. Mickey Gall, of course, beat CM Punk a few fights ago, or about probably 3-4 years ago, maybe now, against Daniel Rodriguez, he's come off his debut, I believe, and he's won his debut via submission. So this is kind of just cementing in the start of maybe start getting into the kind of top 25-ish. And Rodriguez is won via TKO in the first round, so that's a really big win for him. And that headlined the prelims. So now we're getting onto the real interesting fights. We've got Derek Brunson against Kelvin Gastelum. Derek Brunson, of course, most of his wins are knockouts, whereas Kelvin Gastelum, he's knocked out people who knocked out Michael Bisping in the past. Last couple of fights though lost, as I said earlier. So we can see how this one goes. Let's see, both experience, and Derek Brunson is won by split decision. Okay, fight rate is decent, which isn't particularly good. But Derek Brunson's got the win, another decision win, because he's got 3 decision wins in a row, which isn't like him typically. But it's a big win for him against Gastelum. Gastelum now on a 3-fight losing streak, so he's really going to have to get a win in his next fight, or he's probably going to be out the title picture long term, and probably for the rest of his career, unless he has a real impressive rebound. Next fight, Ryan Hall against Sadiq Youssef, and this is a really exciting fight because Sadiq Youssef is a really big contender in the UFC, really exciting prospect. And Ryan Hall, of course, also he's a bit older, but he's still relatively young in his MMA career. Really experienced grappler before that, doing jiu-jitsu, and he beat BJ Penn and Gray Maynard in the past. Famously beat BJ Penn via submission, which isn't what you'd expect with prime BJ Penn, but obviously BJ Penn, when he was fighting Ryan Hall, was definitely not in his prime. Let's see how this one goes. And it's another split decision. Youssef wins. Maybe not quite as decisive as I'd like, because I think ideally you'd want one of these two to win decisively to kind of put them into, maybe not quite to top contention, but getting into that top 10 and really pushing for kind of getting up the ladder. But a split decision win, I mean, it's better than losing, of course. So Sadiq Youssef, good win for him. And now this is where we get into the really serious business, and I think I'm going to start watching these fights in terms of going through the commentary for this one. So Ngannou versus Rozenstruik, both big knockout artists. All their wins in the UFC so far have been knockouts, which is incredible, really. Of course, Rozenstruik beat Overeem in his last fight. Let's see how it goes. Ngannou misses a right. Rozenstruik comes in with a jab and a massive right hook to the jaw. Ngannou is wobbling already, then falls. This is 15 seconds into the fight, and Rozenstruik senses victory and starts unloading punches, pounds away, and Ngannou's in big trouble and is definitely rocked. Rozenstruik pounds away, but it's unlimited to inflict much damage to Ngannou. Says Ngannou managed to survive. It looks like he has. It's incredible. Right, brilliant start to the fight. Ngannou's pulled guard. He's tried to pull guard, but doesn't get anywhere with the attempt. And Rozenstruik pounds away, but fails to live anything significant. Ngannou's trying to move into guard again, but Rozenstruik doesn't allow it. And now Rozenstruik's trying an armbar, interestingly, and Ngannou's defended it well. Was not in really any real danger. Ngannou tries to move to guard again, but doesn't manage to. Rozenstruik throws a few small strikes, but is needing to catch his breath already. We're only 2-3 minutes into the fight, which is a bit worrying. Ngannou tries to transition to guard, but can't manage it. So it's clearly Rozenstruik maybe has kind of gassed himself out trying to go for the knockout. Now Rozenstruik pounds away, but is unable to inflict much damage. Ngannou tries to pull his guard again, but can't get anywhere. Lack of progress is they've both been stood up, which is probably best for both of these fighters, because I don't think either of them are particularly great on the ground. Two fighters come forward and engage. There's a burst of strikes, but neither fighter can land a blow. Ngannou has a right hand blocked. Rozenstruik doesn't find the mark with a right hook. They meet in the centre. Now Rozenstruik hits a glancing blow with a high kick. Ngannou connects cleanly with his right hand, and the two fighters engage again. Rozenstruik is off target with a left jab, but hits a right cross. Ngannou nails a right cross. So we're getting a bit of back and forth from both of them. It's nearly the end of the round now. 1 more minute left. Both fighters step into strike. Got more stand up. Kind of Rozenstruik's tried to connect, so now Ngannou's managed to connect with a clean right hand. And we got more pushing forward. It's brilliant. Rozenstruik misses, and then gets countered by Ngannou, and it was a brilliant example of his kind of reach advantage. And now he has an option to keep Rozenstruik back by picking off range. Okay, interesting. They come together and strike, and Ngannou counters a body shot with a right hand that landed cleanly. They engage in the centre. Rozenstruik hits a jab, but has a right hand absorbed by the glove. Ngannou lands a nice right hook. So lots of back and forth at the end. Rozenstruik obviously got that knockdown at the start, so you can see why he's managed to win the round. Ngannou slips past a right hook attempt and attacks with a clean right hand. Two fighters engage. We've got more standing up, and we got a right head kick by Rozenstruik. He's starting to slow down already, Rozenstruik, which is worrying for him, of course. Rozenstruik hits a left jab but doesn't connect with the right hand. Now Ngannou's connects cleanly, and we're starting to see Ngannou come into the fight a bit more, but Rozenstruik is well off target with a head kick and then gets punched by a massive right hook from Ngannou, and it's a knockout. Rozenstruik has been knocked out by Ngannou in the second round. That sounded like a very exciting fight for the most of it, apart from when they're on the bottom. Rozenstruik obviously nearly getting the knockout at the start, but in typical Ngannou fashion, he's managed to finish with a knockout, which is brilliant for him. And we've really got to think about now him getting a title shot after we see Miocic versus Cormier, the kind of rubber match between those two. So now we got Cejudo versus Sterling for the bantamweight belt, and interesting to see here. We got Cejudo's probably a pretty big favourite for this one. Of course, he's was 2 division champion, but Sterling, more than worthy contender, who's been in the UFC for a long time and won the last 4 of his fights. Definitely deserves this title shot in my opinion. Let's see how it goes. So Cejudo's been playing to the crowd apparently. Interesting. He gets fired up in his corner. So they start wrestling. Both from wrestling backgrounds, of course, so that's what you'd expect. Cejudo seems the aggressor, and Cejudo's already gone for a takedown and managed to get the takedown, which is very worrying for Sterling, already getting taken down. And now he's trying to apply a rear naked choke, but Sterling manages to get out of it. Sterling tries to move Cejudo off his back, but he doesn't manage it. Another submission attempt, but Sterling managed to get out of it. And Cejudo blocks Sterling as he tries to roll over, so we're seeing Sterling trying to get out in another attempted rear naked choke, but doesn't manage to. We're seeing him trying to get out of position again, another rear naked choke. We're seeing a bit of a pattern here. Another one. I think we'll just keep going through here. And they've been stood up, so Cejudo works his way into a dominant position, and he's got underhooks, and he's trying to get another takedown, and he's managed to again. So he's really out wrestling him here, which is very worrying for Sterling. And finished the round 10-9 round. Okay, sounded like it was maybe on the verge of 10-8, because it seemed like Cejudo was just going for everything the whole time, but maybe didn't do enough damage. 2 big takedowns. Cejudo works his way to a dominant position, and again, so he's looking for the takedown, but doesn't manage to get it this time. And again, trying again, not managing to get it. A bit better from Sterling. Takedown defense isn't pretty tactic, but Cejudo is wearing Sterling down, keeping him trapped against the cage. So we're seeing him trapped. It's a bit dirty boxing. He's trying to maintain control, but Sterling's managed to wrestle his way out of trouble, which is what you want to see. And we're just seeing more of Sterling. Oh no, we're seeing Sterling this time wearing down Cejudo. So getting a bit more different to the fight, because we've seen Cejudo dominating so far, and it's more grappling, as you'd expect from the 2 wrestlers. And the next 37 seconds, it's just them hitting each other a little bit and dirty boxing. And again, they've been stood up from the cage. Doesn't sound like the most exciting fight so far. Cejudo's aggressor, worked underhooks, and another big takedown by Cejudo. So he really is really dominating the fight in terms of the wrestling. He's got 3 takedowns now. Sterling timed it well, moved into the clinch. We've got Sterling in the clinch, and Sterling's going for the takedown attempt, but it's been blocked. And now we're just seeing a bit more Sterling forward. Cejudo is trying to push Sterling, so it's back up against the cage. He does so, and now Sterling has pinned up against the cage. Unable to get free, Sterling is smothered up against the cage. They remain in that position, dirty boxing each other. It's not the most exciting fight. I think I'm going to skip through a little bit more of this because we're not getting the most exciting fight in the world. Just lots of wrestling, by the looks of it. This is Noah Ngannou versus Rosenstruck. Incredibly close round, but apparently Sterling came out on top, so that makes it a little bit more interesting. And already we're seeing Cejudo getting the takedown, and he's throwing a few strikes in. He's going blocks an attempted sweep, and again they're getting stood up. This fight may well get ranked very low in the old ratings at this rate. And now Cejudo with another one, so Sterling's really going to need to finish it in this last round. And Sterling looks for a takedown attempt, but failed. And now Cejudo looking for a takedown attempt and manages to get it, which is probably getting verging on nearer the end of the fight now. I think it might be a decision win for Cejudo at this rate. And again, they've been stood up. I'm worried about the rating this will get given. Let's have a look. Cejudo's managed to get the takedown. So we've got completely dominating the wrestling Cejudo. And he's 150 to 45, assuming Cejudo, and it is. He's maintained the best bantamweight title and a very poor rating, which is not what you want to see, clearly. But luckily, it's not the main event, and we're going to move on. And completely not worry about that, because we have got an exciting card other than that, because we are now on to an absolutely huge fight in the lightweight division. It's Khabib versus Ferguson. It's finally happened. 5 times it's been cancelled, and we finally got to it. So let's see how this one goes. Here we go. Ferguson not touching gloves, so we're getting the heat from the crowd, which is what you want to see from promoter's point of view. That's what I'm trying to say. So we're seeing nothing but air. Khabib maybe looking for a suplex, and Khabib's managed to take down with a big suplex already. Ferguson been for the first minute. Khabib is pounding away. Ferguson tries to work some sort of positional change, but Khabib shuts him down. Khabib throws a couple of punches aside to keep Ferguson guessing. This is all sounding like typical Khabib fight so far. Khabib really dominating the wrestling. Ferguson's trying to pull guard, which if he manages to pull guard, you can see it'd be dangerous from there. Khabib is content for a couple of punches to the body. I'm seeing a few strikes, but they are without venom apparently. So we're seeing more just Khabib mauling a little bit, and they've been taken up again. And already Khabib has gone for a takedown and managed to get the takedown. This is sounding realistic, to be fair. Maybe not quite to this extent. You'd hope Tony Ferguson's takedown defense be a little bit better in real life, but I mean, he got taken down by Kevin Lee, so you may well see this kind of fight in real life. So we're still seeing it, and Khabib being careful about the submission threat of Ferguson, which is very sensible. But it's first round to Khabib. And again, Khabib kind of feinting the shoot by the look of it to go to the takedown. Ferguson tries to throw a punch, but he's managed to avoid it. Khabib's managed to avoid it. And Khabib's gone for the clinch. And Khabib hits Ferguson with a knee strike as they grapple. Khabib tries to wrestle Ferguson backwards and up against the cage. Khabib manages it and controls Ferguson up against the cage. Showing his ability to grind down opponents, Khabib is keeping Ferguson pressed up against the cage. Again, this is all sounding like very Khabib. He's kind of just wearing down on Ferguson. Ferguson can't connect with his setup, but then it hits Khabib with a body kick, so we're seeing a little bit of striking, which is good. Khabib is able to, good for Ferguson, Khabib is able to grab Ferguson. Khabib has gotten hold of Ferguson and now looking for another suplex, but doesn't manage to get it this time. And Khabib achieves it, pinning Ferguson up against the cage, showing how good he is at controlling opponents. Khabib keeps Ferguson stuck against the cage again. So we're seeing more Khabib just smothering him against the cage. But then Ferguson has managed to land a left hook, so we're seeing him potentially gotten out of that situation. And he's managed to hit him with a leg kick afterwards. But he can't connect with the second strike. But then we've seen Khabib get a cut above his eye. That could be big, potentially. Depends how big the cut is. Khabib gets hold of Ferguson and uses wrestling skills to get him up against the cage. And we're near the end of the round now. It's round 2. Khabib has won the round again. That cut could be significant. We'll see how bad it is as the fight goes on. Ferguson throws a quick punch. Doesn't get it. Khabib takes the chance and grabs Ferguson into a clinch. Khabib is trying to push Ferguson so that his back is up against the cage. Khabib achieves it, pinning Ferguson in to the cage. Khabib tries to keep him up against the cage, but Ferguson works enough space that he can slip away and back to the centre. Khabib comes forward, willing to take a few shots as long as he can to get close enough to wrestle. So again, we're seeing more wrestling. Ferguson's tried to strike, tried to land a jab, but failed to, but then lands the right hand. And Khabib has managed to get into the clinch. And now we're seeing Khabib trying to muscle him against the cage, and he's managed to do that. And again, we're seeing Khabib against the cage, controlling Ferguson. And Ferguson managed to wrestle free and circles back to the centre. That's good to see for Ferguson, so trying to keep it standing. And Khabib appears to be going for a takedown, so this is clearly a blatant game plan, as always see from Khabib, just getting that takedown. Ferguson comes with a flurry of 3 quick punches and manages to land them all, and then scores with a right cross. That could be big. Ferguson connects with 2 left hands and scores with a right cross, so we're seeing a lot of strikes landing now. Closes the distance, obviously looking to strike. Khabib managed to land a jab. Ferguson lands 2 jabs and then scores with a right cross. This is really good flurry from Ferguson. And then he's managed to 3 more punches, and then a big right hand misses. Ferguson lands a left hand and then catches Khabib with a right hook. For the first time, Ferguson's starting to look like he's breathing heavier. Even though Ferguson's cardio is really good normally, maybe pushed himself a bit too much now. He throws a quick punch but doesn't land it. Khabib gets hold of Ferguson, not having to have taken even one shot while coming in, and then Khabib is trying to muscle Ferguson up against the cage. Ferguson has ended up back up against the cage in tight body control, is slowly wearing Ferguson down, and there's a stalemate. Apparently Ferguson just about edged that round. That flurry of strikes for the kind of minute, about a minute of the round, is really won in that round potentially. So Ferguson's came in, Khabib lands a couple of jabs. Ferguson can't connect with a jab, then catches with a really big right hook, which is brilliant for him. Khabib then comes in, apparently willing to take some hits if it means getting close enough to grapple. Ferguson fails to find home for his jab, then catches Khabib with a right hook. Khabib seizes a chance and grabs Ferguson for the clinch. Khabib has another suplex attempt, and it's a big suplex. And that is a big for Khabib, because we're seeing Ferguson starting to get a bit of that strike in him. So he's back in his comfort zone now, Khabib. Got Ferguson in his control. And we continue seeing Khabib trying to advance into half guard. And then he's firing off a few ground strikes. And Khabib's trying to block Ferguson, as you'd expect. Sent a few more hands, but no real damage. Then attempts to separate to try and stand up, but he doesn't manage to. Khabib just kind of continues the ground strikes, not really that effective at hurting him though. And then trying to stand up, but he's still struggling. Khabib fires away right hands, but not doing much damage. Ferguson's tried to get into full guard, but Khabib doesn't let him get anywhere. And there's getting stood up again, then settling it up well. Khabib just gone straight for the takedown after getting stood up and managed to get it. So Khabib definitely won that fight, won that round. And now Ferguson's really, he's going to need this round, possibly a finish really. And he apparently cycled himself up, which is good to see. In the 5th round, how's it going to go? We got Khabib. He looked like he was angling for a grapple, but couldn't take the initiative. Ferguson lands a left hand, then catches Khabib with a big right hook. Ferguson hits a left jab and then hits a nice straight right that lands hard. Taking a few gulps of breath, Khabib is given the first hint that he's starting to tire a touch. So I think Khabib tiring now. And he's trying to go for the takedown, doesn't manage it. Ferguson throws a punch, but Khabib's he's equal to it, so he's managed to avoid it. and then a jab is wide from Ferguson, but he does land a right hand. Khabib is able to grab Ferguson and tries to wrestle backwards up against the cage. Khabib manages it and controls Ferguson, and Ferguson's trapped. They remain against the cage for the next minute. So Khabib really winning this round so far by the looks of it. Ferguson stuck up against the cage, is pretty much trapped, and then about a minute elapses with very little happening. So Khabib just trying to get the decision victory. It's looking like at the moment, with the fight having been stuck against the cage, they've been separated, and Ferguson's starting to fatigue. He lands a left jab, but Khabib avoids the kick to the body that is set up. Ferguson slips due to the missed kick and falls to the ground. Okay, and Khabib tries to come in and secure a ground position. Khabib dives in, but Ferguson pushes him away and starts to scramble. Ferguson manages to come out on top. Khabib pulling guard. Ferguson throws a few weak-looking punches, so not really effective. Khabib manages to pull Ferguson towards the cage. Khabib stands up. Ferguson still has control though. Ferguson moves away from the grapple, and it is the end of the round. Ferguson gets that round, but I don't think it'll be enough. Let's see what their judges say. They all say, two of them say 48-47, then one of them 49-46. Let's see who's won it. It is Khabib Nurmagomedov. He is unbeaten for 29 fights. Unbelievable, really. And it was a typical Khabib fight. He was never really in trouble. Little fly from Ferguson, but he's controlled it. He's managed to win most of the rounds, and credit to Ferguson. Does look like he's won a couple of rounds, which is a rarity in Khabib's fights. As we know, only Conor McGregor's managed to get a round off him in his whole career. But brilliant fight, and just kind of typical Khabib. And it's going to be interesting to see who we can get next. We've got Justin Gaethje against Conor McGregor coming up, and I think the winner of that will be fighting Khabib for the belt, and then maybe the loser fighting Ferguson. I'll see how it goes, but that's a possibility. And yeah, I think that is it for this episode, because we've had a really big card, and we have 3 fight nights before the next big card. And what I'm going to do, we're going to have the next 3 fight nights in the next episode. I'm going to go through the fight nights relatively quickly. We'll just kind of skip through them. I'll show you the results, of course, and then we will be going on to the UFC 250, which is headlined by Gaethje versus McGregor. So really interesting fight as well. Let's see how this. It made £1 million on pay-per-view apparently, which is good to see. And let's see who I'm going to pick for fight night. We got all popularity increase, which is really nice. Fight of the night is going to go to. I don't think I can give it to. I want to give it to one of these guys. I'm going to give it to Maycee Barber, because Maycee Barber's a big prospect. She got a great rating. It was a quick fight, but it got a great rating. And then a knockout via elbow from Roundtree. I think I'm going to give it to Ngannou instead. So we got the knockout of the night to Ngannou, just because that was a big fight. And I'm sure every Ngannou knockout is extremely exciting and deserves the award. So we come off that. And that is going to be it for today's episode. And subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you for the next one.